finally, the app is rolled out to testing, and the designer, very happy and excited to see their design implemented as a real app, is deeply disappointed that most of the components they worked hard on are not actually as they wanted them to. And the client, after seeing the real app instead of design prototype, is very excited to come back to you with about 100 changes. And now you, the poor developer who has to implement those changes by the designer and the client, are left wondering, could we have prevented this from happening very far into the development process? Could we maybe have caught this a lot earlier? Hi, maybe that would have waken you up after having lunch, but yeah. So I'm Roaa, and I am a Flutter dev, obviously. I've been a developer for 5 years, and about 5 months ago, I joined Widgetbook. Yep, and today I'm going to talk to you about Widgetbook. But first, I also wanted to see the room where we are at by raise of hands, which of you have created a Flutter app before? Damn, that's an awesome audience. Awesome. Okay. Do we have UI UX designers? Okay, one. Okay. Still, I'm also sometimes a UI UX designer. And for you who have created Flutter apps, have you ever dealt with a designer or worked with a designer? Also raise of hand. Awesome, awesome. Okay, you are in the perfect place. So let's say you're building that Flutter app, and the designer, who is this one person here and me sometimes, is finished with the design, and after excruciating iterations with a very helpful client, the design is finally finished, and you, an excited Flutter dev, is ready to implement it. So the process starts. You are looking at the design and creating component after component, page after page. While building those components, in order to see them early on and see how they look like, you will either override the home field of your root app widget, or wait until you set up routing, only to have to navigate through page after page, only to get to that specific component in that page very far into the user flow. And what about dark theme? I'm sure every app should have that now. So you want to set it up, you start implementing it, and now you need state management to implement theme switching, so you can switch in the app and see your components with and without dark theme. And also, this app is an international app. It has an international audience and multiple languages, one of which is a right-to-left layout. So you also set out to implement it, and now you have to make sure every single component you created look awesome in all the layouts that you have. Okay, let's ignore this. That's awful. Okay. So one last step you do in your Flutter app creation process is, before you have to show your work to the designer or the client, is fire up a bunch of simulators or connect multiple devices to debug your app and see how your app looks like on multiple operating systems and screen sizes. And finally, the app is rolled out to testing, and the designer, very happy and excited to see their design implemented as a real app, is deeply disappointed that most of the components they worked hard on are not actually as they wanted them to. You know how it is with they have prototyping, they have a lot of creativity for creating stuff that we developers do not anticipate sometimes. And the client, after seeing the real app instead of design prototype, is very excited to come back to you with about 100 changes. And now you, the poor developer who has to implement those changes by the designer and the client, are left wondering, you and the whole team with your project management and everyone are left wondering, could we have prevented this from happening very far into the development process? Could we maybe have got this a lot earlier? And this, along with many other, whether purely related to us, Flutter developers, or the whole team, the designer-developer communication, are all the problems that Widgetbook is here to solve. And today I want to tell you about two products, or two solutions. One of them is the open source Widgetbook package that you can get on pub.dev that can make Flutter devs' lives easier, whether they're building an app for a client or working on a side project. And then we'll talk briefly about the cloud solution that simplifies the designer-developer problem that we talked about. I'm going to start with, my mic is far from the screen that I can see, so that's tough. Okay, I'm going to start with how to set up Widgetbook. To get started, very briefly, I won't bore you with a lot of code. And we're going to see how you can use features like add-ons and knobs to improve your development process and designer and client review. So we're starting with adding the Widgetbook to the dependencies of your app. And sometimes you're starting with a monorepo or a single package app. Either way, you will add this to your pubspec file. And Widgetbook actually needs its own main file. It needs a run app method. So you can create a separate main app, name it .widgetbook.dart to differentiate files that are specific to Widgetbook, and add it directly in your add it directly to your Flutter app if you're working with a single package app, or you can create a dedicated Flutter app for your Widgetbook. Inside the main.widgetbook.dart file, the run app method returns a stateless widget that has a Widgetbook app. This Widgetbook app can be automatically configured as a material app or a Cupertino app using named constructors, and this is considered the equivalent of the material app that you're creating back in your main app. Or you can create it with a custom theme if you're not using neither Cupertino or material, and use the app builder to add some more configurations that I will not get into. And to start setting it up, to start seeing stuff on your Widgetbook, you need to start with directories, which is where you can organize your components into use cases. You can organize them in a Widgetbook package, or a folder, or a category. The most important thing is that the final level will be a Widgetbook component that has use cases. And use cases are simply have a builder that returns the widget that you're testing. So we're finally at the component that you're actually testing and seeing how it looks. You can have them. You can have multiple use cases for the same component with different configurations to see it in multiple configurations. The outcome so far would be this. You will have a navigation panel with the directories that you implemented, and you can search in those components. Now, this already brings in a serious boost to your environment, to your development process. You can now access any widget configured in multiple ways at the same time, very early on in the development process, which is the most important thing. You don't have to connect your phone or simulators or do a bunch of stuff just to see that widget on your screen. And you don't have to suffer through stuff like state management or routing before implementing everything UI-wise. And if you're debugging on Mac or on desktop, I'm a Mac, I'm a bit biased, but if you're developing on desktop in general, you can make use of the hot reload, where you can, similar to when you're developing your Flutter app, you can hot reload your widgets that you're working on, and you will see that change reflected in your widget book. So this was a bit too much, setting up directories. You will have to add a lot of widget book packages and folders and categories. And if you don't want to suffer through all of that, you have an option to use code generation. As with everything these days, there's always a code generation option. And with code generation, you can add the widgetbook annotation widget package and the widgetbook generator package. And all you need to do to set up your widgetbook and see like a Flutter app that is dedicated to your widgetbook is use the widgetbook app annotation prior to your root app. If you're working with a single package, this will be like your main.dart file. Or prior to, and you also have material and Cupertino options. And you can use, like when you have a dedicated app for it, you can also add the annotation, but prior to any empty object to make it work. And now, when you run the build runner, you will see a file generated next to where you put your widgetbook app annotation. If you want to see use cases now, all you need to do is go to where they are, if you're working with a single app, and add the widgetbook use case annotation prior to a callback that returns that widget with the configuration that you wanted, similarly to what we did before. However, this time, we don't need to set up categories and like the directories from scratch. When you run the build runner, the folder structure of your app will be reflected directly in your navigation tree of your widget book. And that was setting up widgetbook. We saw how we can set it up easy and the easier way, and we cataloged all our widgets, but we need more to truly make the development process faster, even faster. And this is what add-ons and knobs can do. Let's start with add-ons. This is the field you saw in your Widgetbook class. And first of all, because you're using a theme in your original app, the first thing you need to do is set up theming in your Widgetbook, which you can do by using a custom theme add-on, where you add your original theme files that you're using in your app, and you can use the option first as selected to select it automatically when you run your widgetbook, or you can provide it manually. The code generation option, alternative to this, would be to just add a widgetbook theme annotation and put a callback under it that will return the theme file, the theme data. And as much as you add of these in your main file, you will get theme options in your widgetbook. And now this is what you have. You can open your widgetbook and see that you have a theme option in your properties on the right panel, and you can switch between light and dark themes. You can navigate anywhere in your components and see what everything looks like instantly. And you can also test for different text sizes. I know, like a lot of people, I know when you hold their phone, the text is like this much, and you want to make sure that all the UI doesn't show that yellow stuff that Flutter screams at us when there's an overflow. So you can test this by using a text scale add-on with, of course, the code generation alternative would be just adding a text scale factors in your original Widgetbook app annotation. And now you can see what it looks like. And yay, no yellow lines. And of course, for localization, we will need to add the localization delegates that you usually add to your material app or whatever, or your root app. And you can use the localization add-on for the manual approach. And now you can make sure that RTL layout is working perfectly, also with all your components. One extra step that is really important, instead of like connecting 100 devices or running multiple simulators, is frames, in which you can test your components and pages for different devices and screen sizes. And you will get this. You will be able to switch and see how everything looks like. You can also switch the orientation, but I'm not showing it here. I don't know why, but you can do that. And that's it for add-ons. And you can also add your custom add-ons for stuff that you want to set up that are specific for your use case. And next, I want to talk to you about a feature that will allow you to even display your widgets in more configurations than what we saw, and a lot more. So let's take this widget, for example. It has a lot of content, and while developing, you might want to confirm that the specific text, I don't know if I can point with my mouse. Okay, I can. This text, for example, when you add a very long paragraph, you want to make sure that it behaves in a certain way. Or the designer who has implemented this tweet in different configurations, like here we can have a single image, we can have multiple images, we can have no image. And maybe the client or even a new developer who is seeing the widget for the first time will want to know what the widget behaves like for multiple inputs. And this is exactly what knobs help you achieve. What you simply do is access knobs through the context provided by the builder in your Widgetbook use case, whether it's the manual approach or the annotation approach. And you can use multiple types, Boolean, number, text, slider, or custom options to provide custom values. For example, you can use a text field to copy a lot of text and see instantly how your widget will behave like when it has a long text, and see that it has an overflow ellipses in the text, and it doesn't overflow. For the designer who doesn't know what this means, he will make sure that his design is not truant with long text. And okay, there's something wrong. Okay, and yeah, we can also use slider knobs to make sure those numbers are perfect and formatted for like more than 3 digits are formatted in a certain way. And also you can use custom knobs to see how switching, like an entire widget is being switched here with custom options. You can do a lot of things with it. And most importantly, another very useful tip for using knobs is new developers joining your team. They will want to see the widgets and know what each widget does, and they open the folder structure. It's a whole lot of files, and they don't know which file does what, and how it looks like. So they can directly go to the Widgetbook app, and also they can mess around with the properties of the widget to see how it acts before they even see the code. So that's also helpful for your development process. We covered the open source package, we covered add-ons and knobs, and there are a lot more you can do, so you can refer to the docs at docs.widgetbook.io, and you can see the app that I showcased examples of at demo.widgetbook.io, and you can see its source code on the Widgetbook account. So, also want to mention that using Widgetbook will automatically result in like cleaner code because you want your widgets UI logic to be separate from the business logic to be able to show your widgets in Widgetbook. And this is always beneficial for you in your code. And you can set up multiple state management options this way, wrap the widget that is returns from the use case with like a provider and give it the test data that you want without worrying about API calls or this stuff inside your Widgetbook. So how does this all help the designer and client review process that we talked about? You can actually deploy your own Widgetbook internally and share it with your designer and your client so they can give you early feedback. Or you can use the Widgetbook Cloud solution that has a lot of extra features to deployment that will help make this process even easier. For example, you can integrate seamlessly in your CI/CD process pipeline, and you can access your Widgetbooks on different branches and in different builds. Like this is similar to the commit history for us developers, and designers can also see different branches. If you want to direct them to a different branch that you're working on, you can also direct them to it through builds. And additionally, to make the review process even easier, you can use the review feature with Figma integration support. And this means that you're building the app in your initial stage, and you're opening a PR for a new component. You submit the PR, and automatically your Widgetbook workflows will generate a build and a review with links that direct you to those builds and reviews. Inside your review, you can access them also from your Widgetbook Cloud dashboard. This is a screenshot from it. And inside your reviews, instead of overwhelming your designer with the whole Widgetbook of your entire apps and entire components, Widgetbook automatically detects the components that changed, the widgets that changed in your PR, and generates those use cases. And in your review, you can see them side by side. The designer, for example, can open this and see the original Figma design on the left and the outcome that you created in your PR. And if there were changes from the base branch of your PR, you can also see the previous code and the new code. Designers can also leave comments and accept or reject your work. And now everyone is happy. The designer caught the wrong stuff very early on. The developer doesn't have to go back through a lot of additional setup through their code and do changes that were very excruciating to make. And everyone is happy, but I cannot guarantee the client requesting more changes because that's always happening. And that's it from me. You can request early access on widgetbook.io, and thank you.